What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and today we're going to talk about some unconventional builds in Darkest Dungeon. The challenge with coming up with this type of video was finding builds that are a bit off the beaten path from what you would normally expect, that are also still functional. There were a few others I tried that I couldn't get to go right away, so I think I need more practice or just more experience or talking to some people that are better at these than I am. So I picked the ones that I felt comfortable with for, I guess, this first installment. Maybe we'll do more of these, who knows. But before we get started, as always, if you want to check out the box below, there is a link to Twitch and Discord and Patreon, which is a bunch of cool stuff for you. On Twitch, I stream 4 days a week. Discord has like 700 people, and a lot of them are very super mega cool. Actually, I would say all of them are, but that's besides the point. And then Patreon helps the channel if that's something that you're interested in. The first build I'm going to talk about is one that people have heard of and probably want to see, and that is Bonk Vestal. So Bonk Vestal is just kind of a meme name for frontline Vestal. You need to run Mace Bash, that's why it's called Bonk. You know, you just hit them with the mace. And this is a more frontline focused Vestal with damage and healing and stun potential. There's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with a frontline Vestal. There are two ways to do it. So the first is you can use something like Profane Scroll, which is very heavily statted for a variety of things. It is actually a very cool trinket. And then you put Vestal in rank 2 because that's where Profane Scroll is active, and then you get Mace Bash because that's your damage move. You get Stun because Stun is still very good. You get Group Heal, which is Vestal's best skill, and then you get Hand of Light, which is surprisingly decent. The issue with frontline Vestal is that she doesn't have really good crit rates. Her damage, even against not unholy enemies, what would I say? I don't know there. But anyway, against non-unholy enemies, it's still fine if you use Hand of Light one time. But you have to make some difficult choices. You have to use Hand of Light if you plan to hit Mace Bash for the next 3 turns. If you do not plan to hit Mace Bash for the next 3 turns, then you shouldn't be using Hand of Light. You should use that to just get all your damage. But sometimes you hit Hand of Light and you still need to heal. That's fine. The other way to play Bonk Vestal is to put her in rank 1. Or I guess you could put her in rank 2 and then just focus on other stuff. But I think rank 2 is very special. So if you put her up front, then it's really just hitting Mace Bash and Hand of Light. You don't have to stack Mace Bash 3 times and then get a Super Bonk. That's just kind of... I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Super Bonk. With something like that, it's not usually worth it. It's a big tempo loss, so you're better off just using Hand of Light once and hitting stuff. When you run a Bonk Vestal setup, the rest of your team has to do a couple things. They have to be able to reach rank 4. So this is the issue that Leper faces, although Leper has Intimidate, so it's not as big of an issue. But you need someone like Hellion or Arbalest or Bounty Hunter, which is the 3 that I like to run with Bonk Vestal, because you can flashbang something out of rank 4, or you can use Iron Swan, or you could shoot it and mark it and stuff. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. And then if you need single target healing, you don't have to rely on Vestal, you have someone like Arbalest. That sort of team does cover a lot of bases, and it's very safe and pretty easy to play. So if you want to give Bonk Vestal a try, you've had that Profane Scroll sitting in your box for 10 weeks or whatever, go ahead and take a look at something like this. As always, you don't have to follow the cookie cutter teams that I have put down for you. You can swap people around, but this is just to give you an idea of the stuff that you're going to need to make something like this work. One final point for Bonk Vestal team building that's pretty nice is that it gives you a flexible backline, so you can run a lot of extra characters that you normally don't get to when you have Vestal, because Vestal takes up a backline slot for most builds. So you only get like one Plague Doctor, or you get Arbalest, or you get Houndmaster, or whatever, or Grave Robber. There are a lot of characters you can put behind Vestal, but when you run Vestal up front, that means you can double up on stuff, or put someone like Bounty Hunter or Highwayman in rank 3, where they still do very well. Next up is Crusader. I was going to call this Cavalier Crusader, but I think you have to be mounted to be considered a Cavalier, so this is just like Charge Satyr. This is a Holy Lance spam type of setup, which is really fun to do. This is pretty good in the ruins, but you can run this in a lot of places just because Crusader does some really strong damage. There are a lot of people that tell me that they like Iron Swan on Hellion, and that's just amazing because Hellion just beats the hell out of everything. And then for some reason they don't want to run Holy Lance, which is the exact same damage. Both Hellion and Crusader have 10 to 19 damage at max level. That's pretty good. That's bruiser damage. And what makes them better than Leper in this respect as damage dealers is the fact they can project their damage into the backline. So try Holy Lance if you haven't. You don't have to run 2 Crusaders if you don't want to. You can run a Highwayman and Crusader I talked about in the pairs video. You can run, I guess, Shield Breaker with Puncture or something like that, or Pierce in the mid ranks. There are a lot of creative things you can do with Crusader and Holy Lance, and the really nice part about it is that since Crusader is so slow, he's always, for the most part, like 99% of the time, he is going after the other person. So your dance combos are more consistent. I've gotten this in the comments a couple times, and people say they don't like Holy Lance because it is not fast enough to kill rank 4. And I've got news for you, most things in the game are not fast enough to kill rank 4 in one tap. Hellion, who's very good at killing rank 4, is usually slow enough that she can't go before Courtiers or Spitting Pigs or whatever, unless you have some very late game trinkets that give you speed. Arbalest, even though she's decent on damage, she doesn't have enough speed to one-tap something before it gets to go. Like, there is no character short of Quick Draw with a crit that can consistently kill a rank 4 enemy, especially on Stygian or Blood Moon. I usually don't like to bring up the difficulty gap when I talk about stuff, but there are a lot of things that you have to plan for in the higher difficulties to make things more consistent. So when people tell me that you can't kill things with Holy Lance before they get to do anything to you, that's most characters. Like, most characters versus most enemies in rank 4 don't get to kill it before it does anything, especially if they have stealth like bandits or pinkfish. So that's just kind of a non-starter argument against Holy Lance, and there are a lot of good things in favor of Holy Lance. Like I said before, the consistency of the dance combo, the massive damage that you can throw into the backline. Holy Lance can hit all the way up to rank 2. That's what makes it so good now. It used to not be able to do that. That was a pretty big change for Crusader. And another nice point about Crusader is that he is very easy to build around. Another common criticism of Crusader is that he is a very generalist hero. He does a bunch of stuff pretty decently, but nothing amazing except stress healing. And having Holy Lance is just another part of the kit, alongside the heal from anywhere ability, the stun from up front, the smite from up front. And we don't talk about Zealous because that move sucks. So we have all these other really interesting and cool moves that we can be using, and we can build some really good teams around that. The team that I'm using in the background, I consider trying to do something with Support Flagellant as one of the other unconventional builds, and I ran this, and honestly the team in the background isn't that strong. I think it needs Man-at-Arms. It feels like it needs Man-at-Arms because I just think that would do a lot of good. I think Bellow would really help that team a lot, so if you're going to run it, don't run exactly what I have in the background. I'm just too lazy to record something else, but I really think Man-at-Arms fits with a double Crusader backline. Otherwise, I would run one Crusader and then like Highwayman. That's really good, or Grave Robber. There are a lot of really cool things that you can put with Holy Lance Crusader that doesn't have to be another Crusader. If you do decide to run two Crusaders, just make sure that one of them has at least like 4 or 5 more speed than the other. You're not always going to have the team go in the right order, but it's better than nothing. Otherwise, if you do run someone that's not a second Crusader, then you can make it very consistent. Having a Crusader on the team just in general is really good, because Crusader is an incredibly durable unit. He has a lot of recovery potential through his moves, especially later on in the game. And especially if he gets to camp, then even though your team is a bit slower, having Crusader as one of the primary damage dealers, you can camp off most of the stress between his good camp skills and being able to find time for Inspiring Cry during battles. All you need to do is make sure you have your frontline damage covered, which a lot of heroes are capable of doing, and then you're good to go. The final unconventional build of this video that we will be talking about is rank 4 Man-at-Arms. The reason rank 4 Man-at-Arms is special is because he actually gets a trinket specifically designed for rank 4. This is Guardian Shield. You can run rank 4 Man-at-Arms with different trinkets, but it is fun to run Guardian Shield. It gives you a lot of defensive stats and a ton of healing received, which makes a lot of other healers become suddenly viable because they don't have to trinket for healing if you're running this type of build. And it's surprisingly flexible. You can do a lot of stuff with this. You can run it 2 different ways. I guess that is a lot of stuff, or maybe it's not a lot of stuff, I don't know. But I feel like the team building options are pretty open for it, except for Flagellant. I feel Flagellant does very well no matter what the build is, just because Flagellant can drop Reclaim on Man-at-Arms and then just leave him alone. He doesn't have to babysit him. He just spends 1 turn every like 3 or 4 turns to hit him with Reclaim, and he's usually good. And Flagellant's also a frontline healer, so you don't have to pack Vestal into the back of this team, which gives you more options for your mid ranks, which are very important. And I realize I'm starting to go on a tangent, so the 2 ways to play this are, you can set up some kind of dance thing where you get to have Man-at-Arms set up or post on turn 1, and then you dance past him so he goes into rank 4, or you can just put him in rank 4 from the start. Both of these have merits, and they're both very good in different ways, but just make sure you know that you don't have to run some super complicated dance team to make something like this work. If you go the first route and just shove Man-at-Arms into the back and not do anything like dance past him, then you're just going to be using guard and the screaming moves, so you get bellow and command and bolster. Those are your 4 moves. You don't get to do anything else, so you hit bolster on long fights, and then you just hit command and guard as needed. And then bellow. Bellow has its place. Bellow's pretty good. So you get to do all that stuff, which is cool. And then you're focused on just being defensive, so you have maybe the Guardian Shield, or you have Fortifying Garlic, or just some kind of resist trinket. Prophet's Eye is pretty interesting too in this regard, so you get some options there. They all have to usually be defensive though. Mirror Shield also very good in this build, go figure. If you do what I decided to do in the background footage, which I'm probably going to make a Team of the Week video, I'm just going to dub over it at some point because I actually quite enjoyed it. I had a Gunner Highwayman in the back, so I could just spend the first turn shooting in case I got a speed difference that I didn't like, and then I can set up riposte and then dual advance and then to get 2 riposte going at the beginning. So having a rank 4 Man-at-Arms is really nice because, like I said, it's very defensive, it's safe, it's surprisingly safe, and you're able to take a build like this into pretty much every zone, which is a bit surprising. Every region has some kind of frontline threat that you have to deal with, so having Man-at-Arms able to guard your frontliners and protect them allows you to run some squishier stuff that you wouldn't be expecting to be able to run, like Houndmaster up front, Occultist up front, stuff like that. But I don't think that with a backline Man-at-Arms, you have to focus as much on normal gameplay like stuns. You can still do stuns and stuff like that, but since you're kind of gimping your damage to run something like this, you should have a bit more offense than normal. So anything that's a bit quicker, that can do a lot of damage quickly, that's why I like Highwayman, because he doesn't need too much setup to blow stuff up. So I think that's pretty good. Flagellant pairs very well, so then after that it was just like, I guess Houndmaster? And it was good. I had a lot of fun running that team. I should clarify a point about the first type of build that I forgot to. So if you're running the purely backline, no dancing, no riposte version, the thing you want to be doing is using guard either on someone squishy or on your hyper carry frontliner like Leper, and that way you can guard him and then hit command so he gets accuracy, crit, and then bonus damage. That makes Leper very strong, and you can do this to anyone. You can do this to Hellion, you can do this to a Highwayman, I don't know why you quite do it to him, you can do this to Shield Breaker. There are a lot of options you can put up front and then have Man-at-Arms just super buff them, because he doesn't have to worry about what else he's doing on his turns because his build is so limited. One final note for this video and future videos, I know that people have raised questions like why I keep using high level heroes. That's just my guide file. I have high level heroes all over the place. I am leveling some newer heroes so I can scale back the power level of what's happening. But I also like using the higher level stuff because Champion is the most dangerous. So if it can work on Champion, it can work on the previous difficulties. You also get to see every type of enemy, and overall there are just more options. The 3 things that I talked about in this video for builds, you can run these at any point, except the rank 4 Man-at-Arms is a bit more difficult without Guardian Shield, but you can certainly still do it. Like I said, you just need some resist trinkets. For the other ones like Crusader and Vestal, you might just need some accuracy, especially Crusader. But there are a lot of cool things you can do. The trinkets don't really matter as much as you think, as long as they cover the stats for the content you're doing. So if you have low level accuracy trinkets like Surgical Gloves or Warrior's Cap, those are good enough. Alright y'all, that's gonna do it for this one. I don't want this video to go too much longer than it already has, and don't forget that I stream on Twitch 4 days a week. The streams this week have been super fun, with a lot of people hanging out, and we're all having a good time watching the Deathless Blood Moon playthrough that I've been trying. I'm going to try and have the Crimson Court guide done by the weekend. I don't like putting those hard dates on myself, but I really do need to try and finish it. It may not be done by the weekend, but that's my goal. And I'm going to try and have it between 20 to 30 minutes because usually my guides go a bit longer, and I'm trying to keep the videos a bit shorter, not only for the viewer, but also for my own workload. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, so as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.